It's a story you've heard all before. There's a virgin sacrifice, and someone has to walk her up the scary mountainside to make sure she arrives as expected. Except, nothing about this story is expected. The second time was a blast. The second time's a blast, Yoke. I can pay more attention to certain details that I wasn't paying attention to the first time. I'm getting a new vibe from this story. Now, this is what we didn't do last time, so this is what we're gonna do this time. In this session, we get to figure out just how bad I am at playing the Paladin class. I'm sure all of you Paladin mains are gonna have lots to say in the comments about how I could have done better. If you want to hear my conspiracy theories for what I think was actually going on in this town, make sure you stick through to the end. Join us for our replay of The Executioner's Daughter. Take 2. The Path Well Traveled. It's a pretty wild ride, y'all. The Plaza of the Sun. And the shadow of the stone tower that looms above the plaza, it is cool. But the many bodies standing in close proximity have made the air humid. The din of the crowd swells, and between the noise and the heat and the anticipation of what's to come, the atmosphere is downright stifling. You have found shelter and shade under the arched porticos that protrude from the edifice. Thick stone bricks comprise the walls and structures encased within the Plaza of the Sun. An ironic name, for the tall walls block out most of the natural light, and everyone stands within its shadow. Before you is a flat facade of the Temple of Bahamut. Above the large arched doorway hangs a beaten metal shield emblazoned with the profile of a dragon. To the left is a half-circle dais. The stairs lead to another large door, the entrance to the king's palace, where the ruler and his family reside. Atop the dais are 3 chairs, one for each, the king, the queen, and the princess. And to the right, attached to the temple, is a tall, cylindrical tower. The top of the tower is ringed with triangles, is resembling a crown, and a small spire protrudes from each point. The structure is simpler than the others, adorned with only one slatted window towards the very top and a small wooden door at the bottom. Under your feet, the stone is grouted with blood. On any other day, your visit to Soldier would likely consist of a stroll through its bustling market, a luxurious meal of fish and rice on the beach, and perhaps an afternoon visit to the Temple of Bahamut to see a musical performance. But you have arrived in Soldier on its strangest day, and the whole city is tense, pulled taut like a bowstring. You've overheard mutterings that today is the Day of Sacrifice, a ritual revered by the people of Soldier. Soldier treats this day like a festival, despite the darker reality. The citizens are bedecked in jewel-toned finery, and the city has been scrubbed clean. King Augustin presides over the ceremony, joined by Queen Catalina and their daughter, Princess Augustina. Soldier respects the king, for it is under his rule that Soldier has continued to enjoy peace and prosperity. Okay, what do we know about this event? Nat 20? Oh, am I here for this event? You know what? We're going to roll with this, alright? Yuan Ti. This is the Temple of Bahamut. I have been called here for a purpose. I don't know what that purpose is. With a nat 20, I'm going to say that I'm definitely here for this. Which actually kind of vibes better than last time, where I was like, I don't know why my character's here, and was a little less proactive. So now I can be proactive and feel like I have a reason for it, because I have been called by Bahamut here to be in this, for this moment. Although I don't know why. I don't know its purpose. But that will guide me for the rest of the adventure, which I really like. Alright, 15 or higher, Soldier's history is plagued by war. After many decades spent living under the torment of dragon attacks, Soldier's citizens became fervent votaries of Bahamut in the hopes that Bahamut would help protect them from the dragons. This seemed to work, and Soldier went all in, going so far as to annually sacrifice one of its own citizens, always a virgin woman or girl deemed expendable. You know, a girl deemed expendable. That really, that's rough. whom the dragons would consume instead of attacking the city. There are some dissenting opinions among religious scholars about the nature of this offering. Bahamut is considered a virtuous god, so this type of sacrifice is not aligned with his domain. Still, nearly all Soldrans devoutly follow Bahamut. Attempts to end the sacrificial ceremony have been unsuccessful. Oh, so that's the trick. Okay, so Bahamut is considered a virtuous god, so he should not necessarily be requesting this sacrifice. This is something that the people have decided is important and is going to do for that reason. So that's interesting. So now I'm going to go into this with the vibe of my Lord Bahamut would not ask this of the people, and I must do what I can to help these so-called expendable women. No woman is expendable. A blessedly cool breeze meets your skin. As you turn to find the source of fresh air, you see that the crowd has gone silent and parted. An old man steps forward, dressed in a long black tunic that brushes the tops of his bare toes. His head is freshly shorn, covered only in a sheen of perspiration. His face is long and weary. Dark half-moons sag under his eyes. A thick silver chain is fastened around his waist, and on his left side hangs a sword in a rectangular scabbard. From the corner of your eye, you see a gray-haired woman in a gown the color of sapphire whisper to her companion, dressed in rich purple. "It's the executioner," she says. Her harsh whisper holds scorn and disgust. The eyes of the crowd narrow at the man as he finds a place next to you. He is tall and wiry, and his line of sight extends over the heads of the crowd. Soldra's citizenry is relatively homogeneous. Around you is a sea of dark hair and dark eyes, and fair skin protected from the sun, with parasols and ornate scarves draped loosely over the faces and shoulders. You know, this brings up a point to me. Fair skin protected from the sun. We're in the Temple of the Sun, but it is actually blocking out the sun. Is there a metaphor here of they're saying that they revere something, but they're actually blocking themselves from that in their actions? The executioner's black robe accentuates his pallor, and his eyes are a pale, watery blue. His furrowed brow gives his face a severe, dour look. The woman in gold nudges her companion. "You shouldn't speak ill of him. He does the king's bidding. He only condemns those who defy Bahamut." "I don't care," replies the woman in blue. "Anyone who does a gruesome job like that and doesn't crack from the weight of it disgusts me." Her friend sighs and fans her face with a gloved hand. "It's his daughter who disturbs me. They say she can control minds." No one dares to get closer to the executioner. He stands with his arms at his side, and you suppose he is used to the negative attention. The whispers about him are cut short as the door near the dais opens and 3 people step out. The king emerges first. He wears a bejeweled golden crown that resembles the top of a tower, a ring of slopes and points. His dark hair and beard are streaked with gray, and he wears an outfit comprised of a rich ruby brocade. He smiles jovially at the crowd, which responds with cheers and claps. The executioner beside you stiffens at the sight of the king. Next comes the queen. She is not from Soldra, evident by her dusky skin and her vivid amber hair, so red it gleams like firelight in the shadow of the square. She matches her husband's finery, wearing a ruby gown inlaid with gold. Age has accentuated her features, and the king and queen make a handsome, regal couple. She takes the king's hand as they face their audience, and the crowd cries out their names. "King Augustine! Queen Catalina!" The king and queen turn toward the door, arms outstretched, and their daughter emerges. The crowd sighs and swoons when they see her. She is a remarkable young woman, a mix of her parents, sharing her mother's beauty and her father's lean stature. Her auburn hair is wound into an intricate braid that circles her head, and she wears a silk vest and skirt the color of oxblood. Princess Augustina smiles demurely and takes her seat beside her mother. The king remains standing and addresses the crowd. "Welcome, citizens of Soldra," he says. His voice booms and the sound reverberates around the square. You feel the low rumble of it in your chest. A powerful voice for powerful men. I am honored to oversee another year of peace in Soldra. Cheers erupt around you, and the king waits patiently before continuing. Soldra's peace and prosperity is hard won. Our people have sacrificed much, and we continue to honor Bahamut with our annual ceremony. I thank the loyal members of my court for their vigilance in protecting Soldra from heresy and those who would disrupt our rituals and way of life. The king lets this settle over the rapt crowd, hands outstretched towards the executioner. While some of the soldiers nod their heads and murmur in agreement, those near the executioner narrow their eyes at him, despite the king's accolades and his services. The king smiles and claps his hand. Let's begin the ceremony. As is tradition, Priest Nahum will select this year's offering. Once the offering is selected, she will be anointed. Then she will be escorted to Garrus Peaks by our designated guide. At this, he points to the escort, who is, unsurprisingly, the executioner, where she will await her fate and serve Bahamut's will. High Priest Nahum. The king's voice is authoritative, and you are sure it can be heard through the thick stone walls. The door of the temple opens. A tall, dark gold dragonborn steps outside, dressed in long navy robes. His appearance is jarring, a stark break to the homogeneity of Soldra's citizenry. The same profile of the dragon depicted on the shield above the temple door is embroidered by the dragonborn's vestments. He cradles a large silk pouch tied and closed with a cord. Thank you, my king, replies High Priest Nahum. He possesses the strong, clear voice of a priest, well-versed in public speaking. I am pleased to lead another day of sacrifice. Daughters of Soldra, come forth! Daughters emerge from within the temple, tentative, like a trickling stream. But still, they must come, relentless as a river. What do I know about the Daughters of Soldra? As I look them over, what do I see? Ooh, not much. Not much at all. I'm distracted. I'm not really paying attention to the girls themselves. That's not where my real purpose here lies, necessarily. The worry written on the faces of the daughters is visible from every corner of the plaza, and it mirrors the poorly masked concern depicted on the faces of the crowd. The daughters huddle together, casting nervous glances at the bag in the High Priest Nahum's hands. The daughters are ranges of ages, old and young and middle-aged, all made equal by the fate that awaits them. Princess Augustina stands, smooths the front of her dress, and descends down the dais, joining the rest of the daughters. Queen Catalina watches the princess with worried eyes, white pursed lips, and white knuckles. High Priest Nahum tugs at the pouch's cord and it blooms open. He gives it a shake and the contents shift and clink. Each of the coins in this bag bears the name of a daughter. Each coin has been blessed by Bahamut himself, forged in the metals found in the depths below Garrus Peak. He glances towards the sky as if waiting to see the shadowed silhouette of a dragon. But the sky remains cloudless and blue. Bahamut, we present you with this offering so that you may shield us from those who seek to do us harm. We thank you for Soldra's protection. High Priest Nahum reaches into the pouch and pulls out a coin. His eyes widen, and he chokes on the name as he reads it out loud. Princess Augustina. The crowd stares, the way faces of skeletons and catacombs have decomposed, with mouths open. The queen's anguished scream cuts through the shocked silence, and the crowd erupts in shouts and cries of agony. Select another name! Someone shouts across the plaza. This elicits both cheers and noises of dissent. That's not how it works, another soldier yells above the chaos. The offering is chosen by Bahamut himself, and we must obey. High Priest Nahum glances back and forth from the coin to the king. The priest is in a dangerous position now. He has just condemned the princess, Soldra's heir, and the king's only child to death, definitively ending the Augustan line. The executioner, too, is quiet, for he will have to escort Princess Augustina to Garrus Peak and leave her for dead. Maybe Bahamut will show her mercy, offers another soldier.
We don't know for sure what happens to the daughters. Several voices overlap in response, giving the same rebuttal. Well, we know that they never return. That's the whole point of the offering. Haven't you seen the bones on Taryn Trail? The shouting escalates and swells. Chaos ferments in the humid plaza. The queen shouts at her husband, "Do something!" Princess Augustina is in tears, looking helplessly at her parents. Many soldiers crowd around her, consoling her and reaching out for her hands. The daughters disperse, finding their families, sagging in relief at the being spared another year. This is interesting because, like, I wonder the people in the crowd who are shouting, there's the people who obviously want to, well, this is our royal family, this is our future queen, we don't want her to die, we want her, we want the status quo, and how many of the people who are like, but that's not how this works. Y'all have been saying that this is how this works, and now you're changing the rules because your daughter is on the line. I wonder how many of those people had lost a daughter of their own, whether it was an actual daughter or, their spinster sister who was 40 and got pulled up there because she was expendable. And in all this chaos, a woman in blue flings out her hand and points at a daughter dressed in black. "Take her instead!" This daughter lingers near the doorway of the temple. The crowd quiets immediately as the young woman looks calmly at her condemner. You watch as the daughter's eyes, such a vivid cornflower blue that you can see the blueness from across the plaza, travel from the outstretched finger to the executioner. The daughter smiles at the executioner and nods. "I will take the princess's place," the young woman says, turning towards High Priest Nahum. "Bahamut asks this of me." The executioner balks and cries out, "Domenica, no!" The young woman, Domenica, holds up her hand. "It's all right, Papa. Remember the holy text. Bahamut honors she who is chosen." Domenica moves to the princess and clasps her hands. "Go. Return to your family." The Princess Augustina gapes at Domenica before dashing up the dais and into her mother's arms. High Priest Nahum and the king exchange bewildered looks. This is unprecedented." "Bahamut smiles upon you," Nahum says jovially to the king, regaining control of the ceremony. He beckons to the lower priest, lingering behind him. "A daughter has been selected, and now we must proceed. Where are the wreaths and oils?" Thank you, Priestess Mara." "You ask this of me, that I lead my own daughter to her demise," the executioner interrupts. He fixes the king with a steely look, and you can see how years of killing on the king's orders has taken a toll. "You have led many daughters of Soldier to doom," responds the king. "You dare challenge the will of Bahamut? Your daughter's will? My will? You has always acted as my faithful servant." The crowd once again begins to argue. "Send her alone," someone shouts. "She's no good as a sacrifice if she dies before she gets there," another retorts. The executioner's defiance wavers. The tears on his face fall silent in rivulets, and he looks truly harrowed. I cannot. You do not ask this of me." The plea is directed towards his daughter, not the king. High Priest Nahum intervenes, cradling a small bowl of oil. "Perhaps another will accompany her in your stead." He looks out into the crowd. "Is there anyone willing to serve as Domenica's guide on the ascent to Garra's Peak?" Now, this is what we didn't do last time, so this is what we're gonna do this time, is we're gonna go. And because we rolled that nat 20 that we know all about this day, we're here for a reason, we will step right up immediately. "Yes, I will take her to Garra's Peak." The crowd turns to face you as you proclaim your intentions. "Very well," says High Priest Nahum. "As Domenica's escort, you are tasked with delivering her as the offering to Garra's Peak, which entails a treacherous climb up Taryn Trail. To aid you on this journey, the Temple of Bahamut presents you with this." The High Priest Nahum steps forward and hands you a common potion of healing. Two priestesses flank High Priest Nahum in front of the door of Bahamut's temple. The priest holds a bronze bowl full of fragrant oil. He dips 2 fingers into it and presses his oiled fingers to Domenica's forehead, chin and the hollow of her throat, and recites something in Draconic.
We offer daughter to dragon, both creatures of beauty, comprised of blood and bones. We offer freely what thy once took.
High Priest Nahum passes the bowl to the priestess on his right, who hands him a tightly wound circlet of laurel. Dominica lowers it to her knees, and the High Priest Nahum places the wreath atop her golden plate.
Bahamut guides you, Dominica of Soldra, says High Priest Nahum.
The priest leads the procession to the city gate. Curiously, the executioner remains silent as he walks beside his daughter. Soldiers who weren't present in the plaza peer out of their windows, eager to see who was chosen as the offering. The procession reaches the gate and stands idly before the large wooden doors that lead out of the city. On High Priest Nahum's command, the guards on the parapets above heave open the gate. Before you is a road. A mile out, the gravel path merges into a dirt trail, winding upward through the craggy mountains. The range is jagged and pointed like the serrated edge of a knife, and one point looms the tallest, Gara's Peak. Dominica carries nothing with her. She wears only sandals, the laurel crown, a black cloak, and the black linen dress that matches her father's garb. The crowd is silent as Dominica embraces her father. She whispers something to him that you cannot hear.
"Wait!" cries the executioner. "Please, if you must go with nothing, at least take this."
He hurries towards his daughter, unbuckling the belt and sheath around his waist, and hands the blade to Dominica. She accepts it, embracing him, and walks away, her back to the crowd, to her father, till Soldra.
Gara's Peak.
All right, now everything from this point on is new information, and I love that. The road outside of Soldra is not vacant, nor is it populated. A singular caravan from a nearby city passes you by, and the merchant avoids your eyes, her face half shrouded by a scarf. A raven perched on her cart caws in your direction. It takes 20 minutes for you and Dominica to reach the trailhead. The paved path underfoot transitions to a trodden path that winds upward. A weathered wooden sign on the left reads Terran Trail in both Common and Draconic.
"I'm sorry," Dominica says. "I was lost in my thoughts, and I have not asked your name, nor thanked you for accompanying me."
She pauses as you respond, then peers towards the mountain, shading her eyes.
"The path ahead is dangerous, and we may encounter hostile creatures. Stay alert, my champion."
She places a hand on your shoulder, and you feel the warmth pass from her palm to you. You've received 3 temporary hit points. Ooh. I think we're definitely going to have some combat in here, since we're getting health potions and aid cast on us. The mountain range before you is a series of jagged limestone pillars, blanketed in patches of verdant trees. Terran Trail is relatively flat for the first few miles, and you and Dominica proceed without trouble. She is unbothered by her sandals over rough terrain and walks with a sense of purpose and certainty. After a while, as the path begins to incline, Dominica speaks.
"Bahamut does not ask Soldra to sacrifice its citizens for him. It is true that a century ago Soldra was once frequently attacked by dragons, but that is only because the city encroached on what was once wilderness and home to a race of dragons made of stone and rock. That is why there are still lairs and hordes within these mountains. A volcano remains dormant too, far beneath us. But these were not the chromatic dragons many fear, hewn from and birthed from the earth. These were the cousins of Bahamut's chosen creatures, the metallic dragons with scales and wings that glint and gleam. The sacrifice was the idea of Soldra's first temple priest, High Priest Akaro. Some suspect that High Priest Akaro secretly worshipped not Bahamut but Tiamat. But regardless of his true alliance, the first offering worked. The dragons stopped attacking. Superstitious Soldrans hold fast to the ritual, believing it is what Bahamut bids. High Priest Nahum does what he thinks is right. Those of us who have tried to claim otherwise are silenced. The king commands my father to execute those who speak in defiance, and my father dutifully obeys, although in his heart I think he knows the truth. Y'all, how many dissensions were quieted? Because if you remember that the courtyard where we just had that ceremony,
It was grouted in blood. There was so much death and bleeding in that place that it is literally in the stonework of the ground beneath your feet. How many people have fought back? Dominica tugs on her long blonde braid, absent-mindedly fingering the ribbon that keeps it plaited. The smell of laurel leaves and the sandalwood oil, a pungent and pleasant aroma of spice and musk. I was once visited by Bahamut as a child. He told me, "One day you will be called upon to lay your life down, and I want you to answer the call." And I promised I would. In turn, he infused me with his power, which I then used to aid those in suffering. But those who witness these gifts fear and scorn me. She looks upward, and you follow her gaze. The sky overhead darkens, easing into an ominous, heavy cobalt. Girls like me are always the first to be sacrificed. I promised Bahamut I would do what he asked. Still, I hope to not become another pile of bones on this path. I do not think he intends for that to be my fate. You glance down to see the path littered with human bones. Dozens of skulls, femurs, ribs, and unidentified body parts lay picked and forgotten, sun-bleached and desolate. It's a harrowing visual, the true cost of Soldier's Peace, a city built on the bones of dragons and daughters. The incline was gradual, but the path now angles upward at a steep incline. The trail is rocky and difficult. You wonder how Dominica's feet are faring. If she feels pain, she makes no complaints. The peak is about a half-mile up, and Dominica ceases speaking, for the climb requires all attention and energy. Something screeches above you. You look up to see 4 large, bloody hawks hurtling towards you, talons and beaks sharp as knives. Dominica draws her father's sword from its sheath and prepares to attack. All right, y'all, first battle. Roll initiative. She goes first. Now, I'm going to say as part of this, she's going to hold her attack for when they come on her, and then attack as soon as they get within range, which they are going to go after her because I'm in freaking chainmail armor. Why would a bunch of birds go after the one with chainmail armor? That doesn't make sense. As it flies up at her, she attempts to, but they are too fast and furious. Don't hurt her. Oh, come on. Now the next one's going to come up, and he's going to have pack tactics. Nat 20! Oh my god, that's a lot for this little girl. Finally, my turn. Freaking paladin's always going to be so slow. It's trying to get at her. It's scraping at her, down, kind of stuck in her hair, trying to flap back to get away. And I'm just going to swipe down, and then I rolled a nat 20. Hell yeah. That should just kill it outright, but I'm pretty sure. Oh, nat 20 with max damage. Ain't nobody gonna touch my girl. Oh man, that's right. Oh, I have not prepared any spells. Awesome. That's great. All right, look, we're going all out here. We're gonna cast Compelled Duel. This guy, I just killed his friend. He should be scared. But he was already on a mission, so he's going to hit on my girl again. It's not a crit this time. That's good. 3 points of damage on this girl. Oh my god, she's going to be Cure Wounds herself. And then this other guy, he's been compelled by me. So he's going to come over here and then try to attack me. Oh my god, these freaking birds. But at least I'm taking it this time. I can take it. So I try to block the guy in the behind, and so this one takes advantage and comes in and just slices me right at the back of the neck, because apparently I'm not wearing a helmet, because you never wear a helmet in the movies. Alright, she's just gonna cast Cure Wounds on herself. Oh wow, okay, Bahamut is with our girl Dominica today. She just healed herself for more hit points than she has. That's awesome. This guy still going after her because it's a bird. It's not a very bright bird. I also just realized I did not make the bird roll a wisdom saving throw, but you know what? That's cool. It's fine. We're just we're just doing what we're doing, and these birds are just awful. But that's all right, because I'm going to nice 6. Oh, how many hit points do they have? 7. Of course they do. I'm gonna smite. I don't want 4 birds hitting. Why not? I only have so many. I'm wasting them. That's hilarious. He's got pack tactics. What's their intelligence? 3. Do they fight to the death? I don't think they should. Well, I'll roll an intimidation check and make that the DC. And then we'll just see how wise they... Oh, that's a nat 1. Oh my god. I'm somehow not scary? This is nonsensical. Alright, well, we'll just have him do his bite thing. Attack! See, this is why I can't scare him, because he's gonna hit me or her no matter what. She's gonna hit him with the sword, her father's sword. I do not believe she's proficient. But she still hits. Nice. And she's gonna do versatile because she's gotta hold it with 2 hands, right? And I'm gonna get this last one. Just get him. Are you... You choked, Fenzira. You choked. What is happening that her intimidation is bad? Like, did she get caught up? Like, she's got, like, feather in like, sticking in her eyes or something? What? How is this happening? He doesn't even know it yet. He's not even paying attention. Oh, he might start to realize it. Alright, Dominica. You're amazing. You're awesome. We love you. Kick butt. Kill it. Kill it. That... Are we now just, like, flapping, all 3 of us? Just like, ah! Alright, my turn. Come on, Fenzira. Protect the girl. Look cool. You were also a paladin of Bahamut. That 20 would have been cool, but I'll take the 18 because that should do it, hopefully. Yes! Finally. Alright, the last one falls. I check on her. I'm apparently very silent. I go to her. You okay? She's like, I think I'll be alright. Bahamut helped heal most of these wounds. You fought well, champion, says Dominica. Her father's sword is already stained with the remnants of soldiers' traitors, a deep crimson. The hawk's blood shines slick and new, still dripping. You wonder whose blood that blade has seen. She wipes the sword on her cloak and sheathes it. The sun will set in the next few hours. We should hurry so you can return to the city before night. The peak is not far. The plateau comes into the view above you. Dominica's leather sheath hits the rocks as she climbs, and the sound of impact echoes around you. She takes care not to disturb the additional bones that remain embedded in the cracks of rock. There are fewer bones here, and you suspect fewer daughters made it this far. As you go higher, the atmosphere grows thinner and cooler. A light fog surrounds you. The mist clings to your clothes and skin. At last you emerge at the peak. It is not just a plateau, you notice now, but a precipice. The large slab of rock upon which you stand juts out over the rest of the range below. In the center of the 50-foot diameter plateau is a long rectangle of obsidian, about 3 feet long, the inside carved and cratered like a trench. A sacrificial altar, Dominica explains. The first daughter sacrificed here, Octavia, was bled out. The high priest Icaro cut her throat, but her body disappeared, and no one knows what happened to it. Dominica points out over the precipice towards a glow far in the distance. Soldra, nestled in the valley. Beyond the city, miles and miles away, is the sea. The city at dusk, seen through the shroud of mist, is like a candle, flickering as it settles in for the night. The celebrations have begun, I'm sure, says Dominica. A night of revelry, toasting Soldra's year of peace. She says it without bitterness or spite, but with a touch of longing. She turns to you. Now, I wait, and you have done your duty, so you should return to join the festivities. Here, she says, unbuckling the sword belt. Please give this to my father. The sound of flapping wings jolts you, and Dominica laughs. Not a dragon, not yet, at least. There are hippogriffs who fly here. Look! She points, and you see a grand white hippogriff soaring above you. Its heavy wings beat against the tension of the air, and it regards you and Dominica warily and without hostility. Dominica frowns. As magnificent as I think they are, I wish they wouldn't come here. They are prey to dragons. A low rumble makes the ground quake and tumble. The diaphanous clouds overhead suddenly grow heavy like sodden rags, dark with moisture. A raindrop splatters on your face. The first few drops come tentatively, but a moment later, lightning shatters the sky and the clouds break open, releasing a torrent. You must go, Dominica shouts through the rain. It's not safe for you. Dominica's plea is cut short. She cries out and lurches forward as if struck, and you look around for the attacker. The dragon this time, or another Blackhawk? But there is no one else on the peak besides you and Dominica. You reach for her hand to pull her to her feet, but she cries out again as the back of her linen dress splits open. A giant black dragon wing bursts forth from her shoulder blade, splitting the skin as it tears through. No! Dominica screams as another wing, webbed and slick with rain, emerges from her back. The wings overpower her slender frame as they begin to flap, and she is lifted from the ground. More draconic features sprout from Dominica's limbs as she cries out in agony, fighting against the transformation. Jagged Cimmerian scales cut through her flesh until nearly all of her body has been pulled and shifted and mutated into the form of an obsidian dragon. Before her face is engulfed by flails, Dominica cries, "Please, free me!" Dominica, the executioner's daughter, has transformed into a dragon before your very eyes, a gruesome, agonizing, and awe-inspiring event to witness. The creature hovers before you, flapping its great midnight wings. Holy shit, y'all! So that happened. Oh my god. You notice that while the dragon is black, its hide is a texture that resembles obsidian. You recall Dominica speaking of the rock dragons that once lived in this region of the volcano, and of the volcano that remains dormant under the mountains. The dragon's wings and tail are edged with gold, and its eyes are a vivid... Is Dominica still in there? Somewhere? The lightning cracks again. The dragon makes a low rumbling noise in its throat, opens its mouth, and exhales a breath of fire, vivid and vibrant against the storm. The rain douses some of the flames, but you are caught in the blast, engulfed in scorching heat. The dragon growls again, its body tensing and coiling, ready for another attack. The executioner's sword, whether on the ground or in your hands, begins to glow. I'm gonna pick it up. It's starting to glow for the epicness of this moment. I will bend down and pick up her sword and put it up. I am going to pull up my shield, have the executioner's sword in my hand. My regular longsword is still in its sheath. I'm backing away and I'm defensive. Dominica, I know you're in there somewhere. Bahamut doesn't want you to kill everyone. It has initiated combat. Okay. Are we ready to fight a dragon and die? I'll die. Probably. We should be on a precipice. Let's not fall off, shall we? I guess I have no choice but to fight. I don't want to defeat the dragon. I want to help the dragon. She's going to fly down at me. She does not have multi-attack. Thank the gods. Just come down with that shard claw. So luckily, whatever I'm saying is helping. As is my shield. Apparently I have to fight to get through to her. 13, not gonna hit. Apparently I'm not trying very hard. It's going to turn around and try to hit me back. Because it can. Oh! That's... I'm at 5 hit points, yo. But I do have the healing potion. I'm gonna like dance around her just for cinematics, dancing around here, as I need a free hand to drink that healing potion. Is it worth it? I'm gonna drop her weapon, reach in my bag, use my action to drink the healing potion. It's gonna reach out and touch someone, but this time we're just gonna stick with definitely a bite. Alright, so it hits. And does... Oh, yeah, no, that was it. That was it. I died. Bob and weave, bob and weave. That's what I probably should have done. But then I never would have gotten to attack. Okay, so I died. Didn't even scratch her. Did not even scratch her. All of it fades. The dragon, the mountain, the storm, the city in the distance. You are submerged into blackness, so dark you cannot see or hear or feel. You rotate in the void, unable to speak or move, and you wonder if this is it. If this is some sort of afterlife or purgatory, or simply the sensation of death. Just moments ago, the pain had been too much to bear. You can't remember the moment of the final blow. Did the dragon's teeth tear through your torso? Did your skin wither and char in a blast of fire? Did you plummet down Terran Trail in your haste to escape? It doesn't matter now. It's over. Time passes mere seconds or an eternity. Eventually, a lout sprites through the blackness, the tiniest pinprick of a glow. It grows larger and spreads, outlining the shape of a young woman. The light silhouettes her body and masks her features, but you already know that it is Dominica. "My champion," she says. As her eyes adjust to the sudden brightness, you see that it is not the Dominica you saw before she transformed into the dragon. This new Dominica is bedecked in scaled obsidian armor, her blonde plate still adorned with her laurel wreath. She has been reunited with her father's sword, and it hangs from the black belt around her waist. Dominica kneels before you and presses 2 fingers to your forehead, your chin, and the hollow of your throat, mirroring High Priest Nahum's blessing. "You have honored your commitment to me. In return, Bahamut restores your life. Wake." Your eyes snap open and you come to consciousness on Garrus Peak. Is this where you were when you died? It doesn't matter now, for you are no longer dead. But you are alone. Beside you is the Executioner's sword, unsheathed. It bears a new script that glows faintly against the patina, and it reads, "I was not afraid. I was born for this." It is night now. The stars above you twinkle and pulse in this Cimmerian blanket. The mountain is quiet and still. You see and hear no hawks, no hippogriffs, nor any Dominica dragons. The sky may be uninhabited now, but you know, somehow, that it is not empty. The end. I got a little bit of a tear right there. Oh my goodness. That was amazing. That was so freaking cool. Oh my god. Okay, look. Ashley, if you're watching, you need to just publish the next 2, please. Please, please, please. We all want this. We all need to know what happens next. Do we get to be Fenzira again, but now with the Executioner's sword? Because I'm sorry, that would be epic to just always fight with a sword that says, "I was not afraid, I was born for this." Wow, yo. I mean, you saw my live reaction. That was pretty amazing. I definitely got emotional and a bit teary-eyed at the end of that. I do have to admit, I was distracted about the ending of our previous playthrough, and I really thought that turning her into a dragon was part of Bahamut's plan. I thought that I wasn't supposed to kill the dragon. I totally missed the whole Bahamut doesn't want her to turn into a dragon. You need to save her from being a dragon so then she can be my paladin. And it was a little bit confusing, not gonna lie. But either way, it was fascinating, it was emotional, and at least I didn't fall down the mountainside. If you missed out on the first video and you want to see what happens down the other path, check out this video over here. Part of editing down these 2-hour streams is hearing the tale told time and time again. At some point I started wondering if the reason those bones littered the mountain trail were because the Executioner knew that any sacrificial women who made it to the altar would turn into dragons. The fact that the town wasn't attacked by a dragon every year, and all those bones too early on the trail, even with an escort, tells me that maybe the Executioner's role was actually to make sure those women didn't reach the peak. Was that why he was so upset? He knew he couldn't choose between his daughter's welfare and the welfare of the city of Soldier. Just how broken was he after all these years?
that's it for The Executioner's Daughter until the next chapter comes out. Ashley Warren is still writing that, but I have it on good authority that it is being worked on. So check out this video over here for the next adventure. We're going to be playing 8 Petals Argent, where my failed adventurer Domin is called back home to Waterdeep for one last heist with her old gang, delving deep into the catacombs beneath Waterdeep in the search of the magical MacGuffin. What is that MacGuffin? Well, you'll have to tune in to find out. And if you want to be part of the action, making decisions, and being in the live chat where you hear all my asides, conspiracy theories, and commentary, join us during the Solo Sunday stream.